But let's get right into it. Welcome to Preseason 2020, Rise of the Elements. In our high-level goals blog, we revealed that this year's preseason would be transformative, but left the details hiding in the fog of war. Then we shared a video preview during the 10th anniversary edition of Riot Please. And now the full reveal is here. Elemental Rifts. Every game, Summoner's Rift presents a variety of distinct and memorable environments for players to master. Now, I don't like this. The reason why I really like League of Legends and Dota is because of the staticness of the map. Like, that's one thing you don't have to worry about, is the map is always going to be the same. I really hated Elemental Dragons at first, too. I still think that they're bad, and jungle is definitely the most impactful role in the game. They get the option to throw a lot of shit into disarray just by the fact that Dragon and Rift Herald are around now. Because back before Dragons had elements, and especially before Rift Herald and Scuttle Crabs and stuff, your jungler would just farm and then go gank. Which was definitely more boring. But at least it didn't feel like they single-handedly controlled the game. I do feel like jungle is disproportionately the most impactful in the whole game. Most people that would disagree with that are, I think, pretty mistaken. The second place would definitely be mid, but mid has the luxury of helping the jungler mostly, is the reason why mid lane is impactful, because you can go roam and then have a 3v1 in top lane, or do a 4v2 bot, all that sort of stuff. And most of the time when mid is really impactful, it's because their jungler is also doing very, very well. And they can push up and get vision at the enemy's red buff, or control Scuttle Crabs with their jungler and get more dragons, stuff like that. It's all very jungle focused. So this sort of stuff adds more uncertainty to the game. Depends on what dragons spawn. I have heard through the grapevine, not through reading this, but through the grapevine, that dragons spawn in a predeterminate pattern now, where it won't spawn any doubles until it's spawned one of each, which makes things a little bit better, because like there are games where you're losing and the enemy team gets triple infernal and you just give up because you can't do anything. There are also games where you're losing and their team gets like Ocean, Cloud, one Mountain Drake, and you're like, okay, whatever. All of the buffs stack up, but it's definitely a lot better than them getting 3 of anything else, because now we can actually win. But the RNG factor of dragons is definitely changes games up, but it's much more impactful for the team that's ahead than the teams that's behind. And it closes some strategies too. I read on Twitter there's a lot of discussion going on around this. I read on Twitter a guy talking about different bot lane strategies that you could do, like people are starting to take Kayle as carry in the bot lane. And if you take Kayle as a carry in the bot lane and the first 3 dragon spawns are infernal, like, you can't contest the first one for sure, because you're significantly weaker than the enemy bot lane just by the fact that you pick Kayle, which is good. It is good that there are characters that aren't as strong early as some other ones, because that's one of the big problems that I have with the game too. And I like Kayle a lot better before they did the mini rework that gave her a lot more power at level 6. It was okay that she was a wet noodle, because she definitely did turn on super late, which I think was kind of the idea of her. But now she kicks ass kind of throughout the entire game. Uh, what was I saying? And the reason why that's bad is because if there aren't dragons bot lane that Kayle would need to contest, then who cares? Because she didn't have to go and do any fights at dragon because the ones that spawned weren't good. So elemental dragons add more uncertainty to the game, and they definitely are. They make it more different. Like, I guess the only dragon that really changes things often is Mountain Drake, because if you get double or triple Mountain Drake, then on Master Yi or some other on-hit characters, you can go and solo dragon or solo Baron pretty easily. Your Baron take potential and split push is so much better with Mountain Drakes, but the regen off of Ocean is, I think, impactful, but you can't really notice it because it's more in the background, and the movement speed from Cloud Drake is also not super noticeable all the time. You definitely feel a lot more powerful with Infernals and Mountain Drakes. So that kind of uncertainty I really dislike. And to me, looking at this, it looks like they're bringing more uncertainty to the game, which is not something that I want as somebody who's very comfortable with the map in its current state. So let's read on. Rise of the Elements will bring Summoner's Rift to life as the primal magic of the elemental drakes. Change the landscape each game. The third drake transforms the rift before it spawns, and after that, its element will be the only one to spawn for the remainder of the game. Infernal Rift. The Infernal Drake sunders the rift, creating new pathways through buff camps and burning away their brush. In addition, the Dragon Pit itself becomes the Infernal Drake's molten domain, crumbling the walls. At the mouth of the pit, new paths make opportunities for a quick flank or sidestep that your opponent isn't expecting. I almost feel like if they were going to do map changes, like widening the mouth to Dragon Pit to make it easier for a lot of characters to be in the fucking mix, would have been an interesting change to make, because a lot of times, like, you can't get into the pit because they're just zoning you. But if you give easier openings like this, that makes your ability to go and contest or have a big fight in the middle of the pit more doable. So this one is kind of the least super crazy. They break Red Buff's pit into less Red Buffy, and they open up the mouth of the Dragon Pit. And if anything, I like this. I like that the mouth of the Dragon Pit is open. I don't necessarily love this. I don't know what, like, this is not an incredibly impactful change. There are so many characters that just lose a tiny bit of escape potential by doing this. So I guess this is like it's easier to chase people down. One other thing that they talked about too was doing changes to the map that aren't one-sided. Like, if you're the team that has the... I guess that it'll change even if after the third one spawns, so it doesn't matter if one team has 2 going on 3, or if both teams have 1. But this is definitely advantage for the team that's ahead. It's easier chase down. Ocean Rift. The Ocean Drake brings new life to the rift, causing existing brush to expand, fresh patches of brush to grow around the Dragon Pit, and the environment to flood with pools of water. In addition, honey fruit plants sprout up at each jungle quadrant. Sneak around the jungle or look for a new ambush opportunity. So this brush here I think is really bad. I don't like this brush at all. This brush here I also don't like. Just most of this I just really don't like. This seems really bad. I would not do this one. It looks pretty, but yeah, definitely not great. This again I think in a lot of ways is the team that's ahead gets a really big advantage because you can ambush people really easily at red buff if you sit in the brush here and wait for their AD to walk in from base or something after they die. Happens all the time in solo queue. Now have 5 people sitting in this brush. It is just scarier for squishies. I really don't like it. The Cloud Rift. The Cloud Drake power spawns air current flows through the jungle. The Cloud Drake's power spawns air currents flowing through the jungle and dragon pit, speeding up champions in the vicinity. Dodge skill shots or make a swift collapse on your enemies, trying to sneak a far away objective. So the dragon pit's the normal size, but it is a speed zone. And then all throughout your... I wonder if this happens topside as well, or if it's only to the closer one to dragon. I don't necessarily love this either. This to me is the more neutral of the two changes, or the two so far. This is definitely the most neutral. The Mountain Rift. Mountainous Rift. The Mountain Drake triggers a seismic shift throughout the rift. Bluffs of rock erupt from the earth, making for some scary new choke points and ambush locations, most notably across the mouth of the dragon pit itself. Okay, it's definitely mirrored on both sides. Yeah, it's definitely mirrored on both sides. Not just closest to dragon. This pit I think is the worst so far. This one's really bad. And I don't like this opening. This opening is just kind of bad. I wish that they'd show us here too. Is there a rock here in the middle of the opening to Wraiths? They could have zoomed out a little more. I really dislike this one. I think of all of them, my least favorite has to be the ocean one with all the extra brush. I really don't like that. And then my second least favorite, I think, is probably this one. Cloud Drake, I'm kind of neutral, but that doesn't change a lot. My favorite is probably Infernal. Anyway, I don't super love the map changes. I think that they give a lot more advantage to the team that's already ahead. This stuff, elemental buffs and dragon souls, blah blah blah. I think that this is more or less the same. Mountainous Vigor, gain a percentage increase of armor and magic resist. So this is... The elemental drakes themselves still grant different flavors of permanent stacking buffs to your team when killed, but some of the buffs are now a little different. So Mountain gives bonus armor and magic resist now. Regenerate percentage missing health. Cloudbringer's Grace, gain cooldown reduction on your ultimate. Ooh. Spooky. And Infernal Might, so... This is really dangerous. This is also really dangerous. I don't really... These two are definitely the worst still. Depending on how big the percentage increase is between Infernal and Mountain, Maybe Mountain's better, maybe Infernal's better. Their numbers are going to be the important part. This one's interesting, but again, this is like RNG based. So what if you're a character that doesn't care about their ultimate? What if you're like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a character who's not super reliant on their ultimate, but like, what if you're Blitzcrank? Who cares if your ultimate's on a lower cooldown? I don't care. What if you're Udyr? Who cares? But then again, like, what if you're Annie or Syndra or Fiora or Darius? Like an ultimate that when it's up, you can kill people. So if it's reducing your cooldown some games by like 30 seconds and some games not by 30 seconds, I think that's more RNG for the game, baby. Not a giant fan. When your team kills their 4th elemental drake, instead of stacking their elemental buffs, they'll gain a powerful dragon soul from the dominant dragon. Dragon souls persist through death and last the remainder of the game. Infernal Dragon Soul. Every 3 seconds, your next attack or damaging spell creates a small AoE explosion, dealing adaptive damage that scales with bonus attack damage and ability power and bonus health. Okay, so even more snowbally. Thank you. Ocean Drake. Dealing any damage triggers strong health and resource regeneration for 3 seconds. Damage to minions provides less regeneration. Okay. Better sustain. I'm fine with that. That does not sound like it would fucking murder my whole team. Cloud Drake. Hitting enemies with abilities or attacks lowers the cooldown of your base abilities. Holy moly. That sounds really good. Mountain Drake Soul. After not taking damage for 5 seconds, gain a shield that lasts until destroyed. The shield's magnitude scales with bonus attack damage, ability power, and bonus health. Okay, so it's going to be fucking huge. I hate all of these. I hate all of them. Again, this is more like, okay, wow, congratulations, they got a bunch of dragons because they had the better jungler. Who controls the game and already has the most impact out of any character in the whole game. I guess that you should be able to get AoE on all of your spells every 3 seconds. That does bonus damage. Or get a shield every 5 seconds. I don't know. It sounds like fucking bullshit. Elder Dragons Execute. I think they're gonna remove this. I don't think that they'll go through with this. This looks like an idea that they had that they were like, oh, cool. Like, oh, cool. We got this cool idea for like an execute in the game. This is really fucking bad. This is really bad. I think they're probably going to get rid of this. Again, like, okay, they got Elder Drake. They should get some damage improvement. I feel like old Elder Drake might have been a little bit weak, but I'm not. If Elder Drake's burn damage affects a low health enemy champion, they'll be consumed by a searing Elder emulsion, killing them instantly. Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna... Elder buff is more satisfying. Elder buff doesn't favor the team with more dragons. It's gonna favor the team with more dragons because the team with more dragons is gonna be the one that fucking gets Elder. Anyway, I really don't like that. I would be really surprised. The execution has a brief windup, so with some quick reactions, emulsion. I don't know why I can't read this word. Victims can avoid imminent execution with the usual suite of clutch save abilities. Zonya's Kindred's ultimate. Yeah, wow, great. Yeah, I really don't like that. I think this was a positive change. If anything, they could have just added this, and I would have said, okay, well, that's a little change. Gives you a little bit of extra ambushing potential. You get it? Ambushing, because they're from the bush. I think you could have just done this for the map update, and everybody would have been happy. Now these I have some fairly non-concise opinions about as well. These are really bad. Number one, they display badly because can you stand in this? Like, the reason why it goes in is that because you can stand in the little nook and jump this way, because if not, I think that it's bad visuals to have it that way. This gives a bunch of extra power to any character who relied on kind of camping brushes and standing further away from you and choosing for better opportunities to do things. So Camille, definite huge buff to Vayne, both bottom and top, mostly top. Big buff to this is useful for Gangplank, this is useful for Singe, this is really useful for Lowy. This gives extra escape potential to Riven, this gives a lot of characters that don't need it a big buff. So I'm totally against this, especially topside. I don't like this at all. Like, there's probably not going to be a lot of action in the little alcove, but I really dislike this a lot. And I think that you can come, like, because of the way that it's positioned like this, I think you can come in from your side, go around, and be basically behind the enemies in their brush, if they don't have this warded on, like, Hecarim or some other jungler. Again, a fucking jungle buff to go and, like, get behind you. I really dislike this. Out of all of the changes, I think that this is the worst one. I don't think that the game needs this. I don't think that there are any characters that are weak that are getting better because of this. I think that it's all strong characters that are getting better because of this. I really don't like that. Jungle path diversity, I did like this. So one of the big problems is they balanced a bunch of XP and gold into Krugs. If you don't play jungle, you might not know this, but the first time that you kill Krugs, they have a special little trigger that until they've been cleared one time, they give reduced everything. And then the second time that they're cleared, they give a lot more XP and gold. I think mainly XP. Maybe they give the same gold both times, but it's definitely an XP buff after they've been killed once. So the current jungle route for most people that are meta characters is red to Krugs, then you take either chickens or wolves, and then you take your other buff, and then you are level 3. Some routes are red to chickens to wolves to blue, but if you start blue side, most people don't go red to Gromp, but if you start blue side and go Gromp second, you need to take 3 small camps if you go Krugs, because it doesn't give enough, or if you go Gromp, because it doesn't give as much XP as the other camps. So if you went blue to Gromp to wolves to red, you'd be level 2. If you went blue to wolves to chickens, or blue to wolves to Krugs to red, you'd be level 3. So it's, I don't really like the way that it is right now, especially because Krugs are out of the way. And if you're, I think that this gives more power to bot side, which is kind of good because top side is always, what I mean by that is, What I mean by that is something like this. I understand I'm going in. This is fucked. This is rotationally screwed up. Mirror map. Okay, give me the normal map. Okay, there we go. There we go. This should have been part of the post. Anyway, by having Krug's bot side and top side, by depending on where you spawn, the top side, if you spawn up here on red side, there are going to be more ganks top, and if you spawn bot side, there are going to be more ganks bottom, just because your jungler has to be by Krugs. This is the only camp that they're really forced to clear if they want to be even in XP. So, by not forcing them to take Krugs, it means that you can be more reactive. And it also means that you don't have to go and invade their Krugs all the time, because that's one thing. Like, if you fail a gank bottom, let's say you come bottom, things don't work out, okay, you slink back and you go fucking take their Krugs. Same thing top lane, like, okay, we tried to gank them, it didn't work, I'm going to take their Krugs. That doesn't happen most of the time. Like, if you fail a gank mid, okay, maybe I'll go take their chickens, or maybe I'll go take their wolves. But most of the time, you just go and take their Krugs, because they're the most important camp. So I think that adding more diversity back to the jungle, and this especially is useful for players that aren't smart and don't know that you're supposed to do camps in a certain order. Like, if you get autofilled to jungle, you're going to be fucking level 2 if you go blue to Gromp to wolves and red, right? Unless you know the path that you're supposed to take, you're weakened. Did they close the gates? Are there no gates anymore? Base gates are gone? Maybe. I don't know. I think that this is the old version of the map, probably. Right? I don't think that this is the 2020 map. This looks like when they updated the interface of the game. I don't think base gates are gone. Anyway. I dislike the alcove a lot. Jungle path diversity I'm fine for. Top lane influence, I think that this is really interesting as well. We're increasing base minion XP, so solo laners level a bit faster. We're reducing the amount of bonus XP generated when allies share XP. So bot lane's a bit more, bot lane levels a bit more slowly. We're also slightly decreasing jungle XP. I'm fine with decreasing jungle XP. I don't know why you need to cripple bot lane even more. I've always felt like they were the weakest by not being higher levels, and you're crippling them even more, whatever. But I play AD, so I'm probably biased towards that. Additionally, to balance out the map objectives a bit, we're spawning Rift Herald earlier in the game and allowing her to respawn once if she is killed early. Now that I really don't like. Support items. We're refreshing support choices in the shop. They'll be less poachable. Poachable? Poachable. Meaning what? Poachable. Able to be poached. To take or appropriate unfairly or illegally. I don't know what poachable has a right doing there. They'll be less poachable and have an expanded quest system that should be more satisfying overall. We're also reducing the current complexity and rules bloat of the lineup. Now, I'm fine with that. They remove coin, which I think is cool. And they've added a tier 3, which I'm fine with. I think in a couple ways it did already have a tier 3. Because, you know, you buy it, it's tier 1, it's tier 2 if you don't buy any upgrades for it. Or if you do buy upgrades for it. Like I said, it already has 3 tiers. What am I talking about? Yeah, it already has 3 tiers. Almost 4 tiers, because it can level up without you doing anything to it. This unlocks supports to begin progress towards their item builds without having to spend their first 1,500 gold on completing their economy item. But that slows them down. Supports are already super fucking strong. These starting support items won't carry as many stats as before, but we think this is a fair trade-off for the jumpstart supports are getting on their other items. The 4 support items are high AD, low HP, Spell Thief's passive, high AP, low HP, Spell Thief's passive, low AD, high HP Targons, and low AP, high HP Targons. So there's a special one for Pike. There's a special one for Lux. No, I'm just angry about those 2. Those are definitely the healthiest, though. I think, if anything, you could totally remove Targons as well. Because most tank supports that rely on Targons are already pretty fucking nutso. And most of them don't even worry about walking up to take Targon stacks. If you are a bad player and need to use Spell Thieves consistently, that makes engaged supports way better. So, like, if you're a really bad Lux player and you're in my game and you're on my team and we're against a Pike or a Blitzcrank or Leona or something, and you walk up to try and get your Spell Thief stacks because you're really bad, and Leona goes in on you and kills you instantly, I think that that's a good punish, and it would get players to play better. But if you're Nautilus, you can just walk up, like, and you're Nautilus against Leona, you don't care, because you have 10 million health. You're Blitzcrank, most of the time you care, because until they super buffed him, I think that you could still die by walking out. But Nautilus is a big problem. I think that they should probably nerf that character a little bit. Targons, I don't think needs to be in the game, really. Because it incentivizes more fighting. Whatever. Lethality items, they didn't really change a lot here. One of the main things is that they removed... Edge of Night now just has a Banshee's Veil. And I think lethality items have always been really good, though, so whatever. They removed... It was Sojin that they removed. Okay. We're removing Spear of Sojin. So Sojin was really annoying because the characters that could get really good value out of it, Renekton and Jax mostly, made them really, really good. So I'm fine with them removing that. If anything, I would have totally nerfed AD Assassins for this season, because it gives a lot more reason to pick things that aren't AD Assassins. Because if we go, hey, let's check the thing. Now, League of Legends, in terms of AD Assassins, I think is kind of disproportionate, because a lot of the characters that are seen as, like, really cool, people are going to pick Yasuo even if he's bad. Even if he's even worse than, like, 90 or 45% win rate, I think people are still picking Yasuo because he's really cool. Zed is the same way. Like, you could nerf Zed into the ground, people still pick Zed because he's really cool. Same with Talon. People want to play cool characters, and they're cool characters. but they also shit on everybody right now. So I think that they could do with a bit of nerfing to lethality, and it would have been a good time to take care of that, but whatever. The Keystone rune changes, these were fairly smallish too. Klepto, now you get more potions instead of more gold, which makes farming gold off of your opponent less attractive. Aftershock continues to attract squishy champs looking to negate their intended fragility. We're lowering the flat resistances more on this rune and buffing the power it gives to tank your champions. Cool. So anyway, a lot of this stuff I don't know if they'll actually go through with. I think that this is not happening. I would be really surprised if they go through with this, or if this isn't totally switched within a couple weeks of it being out, because this does not seem healthy. The dragons, sure, whatever. The game is just going to be more snowbally, which a lot of people wanted. They want games to be closed out easier, but in solo queue, the game is already fucking snowball fest. If your top lane dies one time, then everybody gives up and nobody wants to play anymore, so I don't know if we need it to be more snowbally. It adds more variety to the game. I've been wrong about these changes before. I really hated blast plants when they came out. I thought that they added too much escape potential, and in a lot of ways they do. But I overall think that adding the plants to the jungle was a good change. I think my biggest problem is the alcoves. And then my most favorite change that they've made is probably the jungle pathing, so you don't have to be like, there's still gonna be a best way to do it, but most of the time, like, it's 3 minutes, look at your minimap because you're getting ganked. If you're top lane, like, it's 2 minutes and 40 seconds, 2 minutes 45 seconds. Okay, here comes their jungler, level 3, coming to gank me before he goes and takes Scuttle Crab. And that's just always how it is. Anyway. Makes me kind of mad, but I've definitely been wrong before. I'll be happy to be wrong about this. I'll be very happy to be wrong about this. And with that, we can get into video game time. We can get into Video Game Dunktown, featuring Simu. Some maps are Heroes of the Storm, but they put camps or objectives in them. I'm not sure what the point of adding space for the sake of making nothing interesting. Just makes things less consistent. Yeah. There was another game that had something very similar. I played, what's this game called? This game was actually really good. It was by EA, I think. Cancelled MOBA games. Dawngate? Is this the guy? I think this is it. I think Dawngate was really good. They killed this game though. Yeah, me and my friend Kyle played this shit. It was fucking good. Not this map though, I don't think. Total Biscuit, rest in peace, my dude. Epic.
Oh, almost every.
Was it this map? Maybe it was this map. Anyway, a lot of the lanes had this same thing. This game was fucking sick. They should not have killed this game. This game actually had a lot of potential too. Like, out of all of the MOBA games that I played that were non-League of Legends, I think Dawngate had a lot of potential to be really good, but it was super League of Legends like. Focus more on team fighting and things.